Bases dropped on a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. SDH live for Tuesday Thoughts. You guys know how this works by now. You can get as deep and philosophical as you like. Whatever is on your mind in any kind of soccer topic this morning, use the hashtag Tuesday Thoughts. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get to those as we go, but we've got a lot of things to catch up on straight out of the gates. Big weekend in MLS. The next week starts tomorrow, and it starts here in Atlanta with Toronto coming to town. The transfer window closes today, and there's been some moves, and there's rumors of other moves. We'll get you caught up on all of that and get you set up for the next week in Fantasy MLS in this first hour of the show. Let's start with a rundown, John, from the games over the weekend. Friday night kicked it off. Not a ton to dig into this one. Colorado hosted Vancouver, 3-2 win for the Whitecaps. 2 penalties for Colorado. Kai Kamara adds 2 more goals to his total, but ultimately Vancouver was just a better squad than the Rapids, and no one's really surprised by that at this point.
No, although I was going to be the first person to reference that you had mentioned that someone was going to score and score in multiple numbers. And
I didn't think you'd get 2 penalties,
correct.
though. Sure. I mean, but I didn't think it would be 2 penalties from Freddie Montero just defending horribly on set pieces. No. But, hey, you get what you can. I mean, 2 goals. If you're Colorado, you should feel pretty good about that kind of night. But then you give up 3. So Connor Casey's got a lot of work to do in the short term. I think the Rapids as a whole have a lot of work to do in figuring out just who they are and what they want to be going forward. They've got young talent. They just need to figure out who's going to be the one to take it to the next level, because it's been the last couple of years of just treading water, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
The one that grabbed a lot of people's attention was the early game on Saturday. Red Bulls 3, Galaxy 2. Back and forth, and this is a massive win for the Red Bulls, who have been struggling for a little while. What'd you take out of this one?
I took out of this one a couple of things. First and foremost, that the Galaxy blew a 2-1 lead. And you look at the goals that Antuna and Zlatan scored within 4 minutes of each other, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, the Galaxy are going to take care of business and get it all figured out. But then in the second half, it was Shutkowski and Etienne that scored 8 minutes apart, and that gave the Red Bulls the much-needed win there on home turf. I still saw some tarps in the end zones up high, although it was
where there's construction. That's not tarped off just to cover seats that can't be sold. There's actual work going on a party deck open area. They're taking out some seating to create some open space. So that's actual work being done. That's not just covering tickets that can't be sold. It was a big crowd, and I mean, there's no denying that one. There's no denying the star power of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I think a lot of people have seen the pictures of Red Bulls fans holding up Zlatan signs, which is awkward. I don't know really how to feel about that. Doesn't feel right to me. Some people have said, oh, well, it's their only chance they're going to get to see a guy like Zlatan, which is true. I don't know if you need to make a sign for him, though. That's a weird look.
Yes.
But we'll see. I think the Red Bulls are trying to figure out how to connect to that audience, and I think they should learn something from this, that, having an academy, having the development, all that is very important, and there's no reason why you would pull back on any of that. However, New York is a superstar kind of town, and the need for superstars I don't think can be dismissed when you see this. It's funny, of course, you're going to focus on the Galaxy blowing a 2-1 lead. I'm going to give the Red Bulls a ton of credit. They came back. And how many times this season have we seen them struggle to come back? They get punched in the mouth and they don't get up. They got up. Second half, you get goals from Shutkowski and Derek Etienne. You didn't have Bradley Wright Phillips, and you still found a way to get 3 goals and beat the Galaxy, who have been one of the best teams in the league so far.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect of all of this. And You look at the back of the Galaxy and you sit there and go, okay, Steres, Traore, Polenta, and Felcher, and you're going, all right, you guys gave up 2 goals in 8 minutes. And so I think that Guillermo Barros Escalotto has some film that he's going to be really breaking down to figure out what in the wide world of sports happened. But quality win for the Red Bulls, especially coming from behind.
Diego Polenta's quality. Steres is a guy who will probably head to the bench eventually when Giancarlo Gonzalez is ready to give you 90. Felcher, he gets forward well. I don't think he's much of a defender, but that's the trade-off you make on the outside sometimes. Gonzalez could help clean up some of that. I don't know if Traore, Skalvik, I don't know what it's going to look like in the long term. But first off is getting Gonzalez ready to give you 90 minutes because the team ahead of that is very, very good with Jonathan Dos Santos, Joe Corona, Chris Pontius had a great assist on the Zlatan goal, Sebastian Lletget, Antuna, good talent. And the Galaxy are talking about adding to that, and we'll get into that in the transfer window discussion. The Galaxy have issues just like pretty much every team in the league at this stage. It's May. That's how it goes. I think the Red Bulls have found something that does work, though, with 3 center backs and Parker Long and Amro Tarek, 2 wing backs with Kamar Lawrence on the left getting back into the team and Connor Lade. And then you've got your 2 central midfielders in Davis and Shatkovsky, 2 wingers in Royer and Wheel, and then Brian White, who will eventually be replaced by Bradley Wright Phillips. It's back to that 3-3-3-1 shape that 2017, the Red Bulls were struggling. Jesse Marsch turned to this, and they reeled off a whole bunch of wins and a playoff run. They got away from it in 2018. Armas tried to dial it back up against Columbus early in his tenure, and Columbus just went over the top and played very direct and shredded it in the first half. He's went back to it here, and he's found success with it. How long does that last? We'll have to see. But right now, he's found something that works, and I think Chris Armas is going to stick with it until somebody figures it out.
What you said, I agree. Circle gets the square. I think that the 3-3-3-1 is something that we all need to be paying attention to when it comes to looking at the Red Bulls. When you dial them up on your screen of choice, and that 3-3-3-1 is what seems to be working, at least in the short term, and I think that's where they are going to be going forward.
Houston Dynamo, the best team in MLS that nobody's talking about. They win 2-1 over FC Dallas at BBVA Compass Stadium. They did have to deal with a very late potential goal from Dallas that was waved off for being offside. Dynamo are strong, and the Dynamo's front 4 is among the strongest in the league, and they've upgraded enough with the depth that they're handling life in Major League Soccer pretty well right now.
And you look at and you just roll off the names. You sit there and you go, Manotas, who scored twice, and you have Tomas Martinez and Memo Rodriguez, Boniek Garcia, Vera, Elise, and then you can go to the bench in this case and bring in Cabezas for a handful of minutes. And then, you pair it up with the defense. And how old is Minor Figueroa? 102?
Yes.
And to see him still put in 90 quality minutes at the age of 102, I wouldn't have figured it, but sure enough, he's doing it. And right now, the Northwestern Mutual team of MLS right now is just still kind of plodding along, and they're doing their thing and still beating people. And it ended up in the Texas Derby that you knocked off one of your big rivals, and Houston just keeps doing their thing. That's the only way I can describe it right now. And when you can go to the bench and you bring in a Kyoto and a Cabezas, and you added that depth that you're talking about, Houston's strong right now, and top to bottom, one of the teams that everybody needs to be either A, talking about, or B, showing up to see.
Look, Dallas, since coming to Atlanta and playing a very different style than who they are, they got the win there. They drew with San Jose at home, scoreless, and they go to Houston and lose. Next, they get the Red Bulls come into town. Then they go to LAFC. Dallas is on the ropes a little bit right here. And, yeah, they got the win in Atlanta, but getting out of your comfort zone to do it, it's a little bit of a subliminal message from Luchi Gonzalez to his players that, hey, you're not good enough to go into Atlanta and get a win. playing your game. That's one of those things that can stick with you a little bit. And you start to question yourself. 2 tough results against teams that, San Jose is a match you should win at home. They didn't. They didn't score. Go to Houston. Okay, that's a tough one, but you lose 2-1. You got 2 tough ones coming up. Young team, questioning themselves maybe for the first time this season. Keep an eye on Dallas. I'm a little concerned about what's next for them. Toronto, Orlando. Toronto goes down to Central Florida, gets the 2-0 win. Questions have popped back up about Orlando because that's what happens. Toronto does this without Josie Altidore. It's a really good win for Toronto, and they bring that momentum to Atlanta tomorrow night.
Pozuelo and Jordan Hamilton were up top in this particular match. And Jordan Hamilton, yes. And, Hamilton got his one shot on target in the match against Orlando. And, he's been one of those guys that you've kind of sat in there and said, okay, Jordan Hamilton is in one of those show me opportunities. And I know a lot of folks were looking at the likes of Eo Akinola as a part of that quote unquote solution when Altidore is not up top, but you had Hamilton and Akinola combined for that 90 minutes to take over with Pozuelo up top. And I just look at this as Toronto going in and taking care of business. Goals by Osorio and Chapman were what gave it to you. And you get your 3 points, you get out of town, you turn around, and you're coming back for a midweek here in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple setup from Toronto without Josie Altidore. It's Hamilton as the true number 9. Pozuelo's in a free role underneath him. He can roam wherever he needs to. And he's got backing from Delgado and Bradley and Osorio behind him. Osorio can flare out to the left, but he can also tuck in centrally. And then on the right side, you've got Nick DeLeon, who's going to fly up and down the wing and give you 90 minutes of hard work. Chris Mavinga was excellent in this match. It was Mavinga and Laurent Simon in the back. Simon had a very shaky start to his Toronto tenure. Seemed to be getting it back together. Justin Morrow back as one of the top left backs in the league, and you get Alro back from injury. They've also made a change in goal, and we'll see how long that lasts. Quentin Westberg, newcomer this season, has been getting the games over Alex Bono lately. Bono struggled. He's had some really just poor performances over the last almost 12 months, to be honest. He had an unbelievable run in CONCACAF Champions League, and it just all kind of fell apart. You saw some uncharacteristic mistakes from him late last season, and it's continued into this year. Westberg is a guy who can start in this league, and Westberg is a guy who can do what Bono did to Clint Irwin and get the opportunity and not let go of it. So we'll see how long that lasts, and we'll see if Toronto kind of does some of this again tomorrow night, if it's Hamilton and Pozuelo, or if you see some rotation. Maybe Akinola gets the start here. Maybe Eric Zavaleta gets a game here. Jay Chapman is a player who's played some big minutes for them lately. Curious to see how consistent Toronto is when they come to the bends. And then Orlando's coming on Sunday. And Orlando, it's just weird. They can't seem to figure out how to get anything out of Sasha Kljestan and Dom Dwyer this season. Dwyer gets the start here, doesn't produce anything. I think they've almost looked better with him coming off of the bench.
Yeah.
It's Nani and not much else, honestly, right now. Tesho Akindele's been a good addition. Chris Mueller's a guy who I think needs to be playing 90 minutes now. I really do like Sebastian Mendez, the signing they brought in this year. I think he's going to be a very good midfielder, and Orlando has the potential to have a really good midfield with Uri Rosell, with Mendez. Josue Colman cannot get into the lineup on a regular basis. Christian Higuita is kind of in and out. Will Johnson got the start last weekend. They have the potential for a good midfield. It's just not consistent out of them, and maybe they'll find it because they have upgraded some places this season. Right now, who knows what they bring on Sunday to the Bends.
18 shots for Orlando, 2 on target.
Yeah, it's easy, I think, to look at the numbers like that. I haven't dug into this game yet. I'll be watching it back today. That doesn't necessarily tell me much because it could mean, okay, they took a lot of bad shots. It could mean that they had a lot of really good opportunities but didn't finish in the final third. there's not really a way to know. And I want to dig into it. The fact you're getting that many shots is generally a good thing, but how much quality is there in it? And for Orlando, that's been a problem this season. So I want to dig into this one and see what they look like. And I just don't know lineup to lineup what they're going to do. And that's, I don't know if it's James O'Connor figuring it out or players are just not giving him consistent performances. But Orlando is better than they were last year. How much better? That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
NYCFC went up to Montreal. 2-0 win for them at Stade Saputo. Montreal had been on a shutout streak for a little while. That gets broken. The impact are just real, and Nacho Piatti's still out injured. Bakary Sagna is going to miss their next match as well. NYC is just putting it together right now. They're just getting the job done. Mitricha is still battling injury, but Hebert is your guy right now. You have a number 9. It's made Maxi Morales. It's made Ismail Tajouri-Shradi look better. When Mitricha gets in, if you get Hebert, Morales, and Mitricha, if they go with the 3-4-3 that they played in Montreal, I mean, one, you have Tajouri-Shradi coming off the bench then, but that's a really ridiculous front three.
Yeah, and
you have
I think that
Ring behind him.
Yeah, and I think that when we were discussing the idea of Hebert coming to town, it was combining him with Mitricha, and then to your point, you've got when healthy, not as of last weekend, but you have Hebert, Mitricha, Maxi Morales, Tajouri-Shradi coming in behind, and then you have, in the middle you have Jesus Medina that's a part of things, and so I think that NYCFC they got the guys that they were hunting for. And it's just making sure that all of them get healthy and all of them are out there at once. And NYCFC can be dangerous when they get to 100%. But once again, we've discussed Montreal ad infinitum and how they are without Nacho Piatti. And this is just another one of those examples of how integral he is to what we're seeing with the Impact.
Well, let's also be fair. I mean, Montreal is high up in the Eastern Conference standing without Nacho Piatti, and they've been winning games. They're just limited offensively, and when the defense isn't pitching shutouts, then you're going to have some issues. It's not to say how they're a bad team without Piatti.
No.
They're just not the same team because they have been getting results. On the NYC side, I want to see what Tarrant does when he's got Mitricha healthy, if he tries to go to more of a 4-3-3 to get one more of his attackers in, because in the 3-4-3, if you play it like they did here, it's 3 center backs, and lately it's been Callens, Chanot, Ibiaga. Sweat and Tennerholm are your wing backs, Ofori and Ring were your center backs, and you're getting Morales, Hebert, Tajouri-Shradi across the front line. That means you're leaving out Valentin Castellanos, Jonathan Lewis, Jesus Medina. 3 players who would start for a lot of teams in this league. Oh, yeah, and Mitricha's injured too. If you go 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or however you want to put it, you can get one more of those guys in and sacrifice a center back. Are you still going to be balanced enough? And that's the question for Dome Tarrant. I think he'd love to get one more attacker in. It's just going to be, can then Ofori and Ring give you enough balance to sacrifice one of your center backs? That'll be the tightrope that Tarrant walks. Let's take a break. Let's come back. We'll get into the evening games on Saturday. Philadelphia demolished the New England Revolution.
Yes.
We'll talk about that right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Oh, boy. John's done it again during a break. I refuse to answer his question because you all need to hear this. The Philadelphia Union have been part of Major League Soccer since 2010. And John has a question.
Yeah. I've seen the hashtag, but I've never seen an explanation for it. What's the dupe hashtag?
Oh, jeez. Have you watched the Philadelphia Union match?
Yeah. I've watched several.
I don't know if you have.
More than one.
No, I don't know if you have. Have you watched one from Talon Energy in Chester, PA?
Yeah, where there were about 12 people in the stands, sadly, and Jonathan Tannenwald had a great article on it.
But yes, there was this time around. But yes, generally, it's been a little bit better than that. But they scored 6 goals in this one. Did you watch the highlights?
Bits and pieces of said highlights, considering it was 6-1.
Did you hear a song that was played after Philadelphia Union scored goals?
No.
Didn't hear it?
No.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure it played. Doesn't
really
mean that I had
loud
the sound up.
Yeah, it's really loud.
Okay.
And they've played it for, since 2010.
Fair enough.
It's a thing. There's when you type in on the Google machine, and I highly recommend the Google machine. It's a good one.
All right.
The first thing that comes up is a page at the Philadelphia Union website from 2010 that asks a question. Do you dupe?
No, I don't.
No, you
never
definitely
heard
don't
of
dupe.
this.
You know nothing about it.
No. Nope.
Yeah, Mönchengladbach is where they picked it up from. It's their goal song. It's what they play after games. It's become their hashtag. They have lots of fun with dupe. Yeah. It's been going on for a while.
Okay. The song apparently came out in 1994.
Yeah, well, I mean, Philadelphia started in 2010, so I'm not gonna hit you like for not knowing like 90s bands, which I mean that'll happen probably in the next hour, but I can't believe you'd missed out on dupe.
Nope.
That's their whole gimmick. That's their whole thing.
It shows you how much I'm into comics.
Comics? What?
Dupe is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel. Character appeals in the Marvel Universe, created by writer Peter Milligan and artist Mike Allred, made his debut in X-Force Volume 1, number 116.
That has nothing to do with this. That has zero to do with it. I don't pay attention to comics either. Sorry. I mean, nothing against comics, but not my thing. But they didn't pick it up from a comic book. It's a song.
The artist Dupe and the album Circus Dupe.
Yeah.
From 1994.
They got it because Borussia Mönchengladbach played this.
Right. Okay.
And Peter Novak was your first manager of the Philadelphia Union. He wanted to find something to celebrate and a song to play for goals. He saw it with Mönchengladbach, thought it was cool. It's actually the European dance artist Scooter who released the song titled Maria, parentheses, I Like It Loud.
Okay.
That's the one that you're pulling this from. And they worked with the Sons of Ben, and it became the thing. So they used the hashtag,
and you know what?
and it's their whole deal.
You know what?
Yes.
We've had a more fruitful discussion about a song than we probably have about the 6-1 win.
Well, I mean, the Revolution are just bad. Like that's the most important thing out of that. The New England Revolution are just not a good team.
2 words, Sergio Santos.
He was brought in to do these things. He gets 2 goals in the second half, but it was already 2-1 because Ilsinho had scored a ridiculously filthy goal 2 minutes after the halftime break. Jack Elliott opened the scoring. Juan Fernando Caicedo, who has been getting some goals for New England lately, he equalizes in the 35th, and then it all fell apart. And New England gave up 5 goals in the second half. Carlos Miguel Coronel was the goalkeeper for Philadelphia as Blake's out, as Freese is out, gives up the 1 goal, gets the win. New England's conceded 10 goals in their last 2 games. Yeah. Cody Cropper's just getting beat up. Yeah. And Sergio Santos gets his first goals of the season for Philadelphia. Philly, still questions about Corey Blake. He's not coming back anytime soon. Is that going to hurt them? It opens the door for Santos, who's been struggling to find the time. It opens the door for Przybylko, and Philadelphia takes full advantage here. Can they keep it up? We'll see. But New England's just bad. I mean, that's the takeaway here.
Then let me ask you this. How much longer is Brad Friedel still employed, and why is he still employed?
How long did Jay Heaps manage for the New England Revolution?
9,000 years.
Not quite that long, but I think he got 6, maybe 7 years.
I think it was 6, yeah.
6 or 7. Steve Nicol before that had 7, 8, something like that. Both had some success. Nicol had more, going to a bunch of MLS Cups, and the wheels fell off. Heaps got to 1 MLS Cup, wheels fell off. Friedel hasn't had that type of success yet, and it doesn't look like it's coming. We'll have to see what happens here, but I don't know if New England, and let's remember, New England's decision maker here, Mike Burns, is a former national team teammate of Brad Friedel. Not an easy situation for him to fire a guy that he played in front of as a defender, playing in front of Friedel in goal. But I'm not seeing any light here, any light at the end of any tunnels for New England.
It's an oncoming
train.
like
a series of tunnels. I think they'd like to get hit by that train right now. That's the problem. Is it's just nothing is clicking at the moment for New England outside of Juan Fernando Caicedo. Lineups change week to week. There's just no consistency, no continuity. Yes, they do pretty much know what they want to do here. I mean, it's get the ball forward as fast as possible. Let DeJuan Jones and Tejon Buchanan go fight for it, 2 fast wingers. They can fight for it. They're not really good once they get it, and that's one of the issues. And you're just not good enough defensively. And you've spent the money to be much better defensively. And there's just no getting around it. So it's reckoning time for New England, and they're going to have to figure out who they are and what they're going to be going forward. But so far, it's just nothing. It's just nothing at this point. I don't see it turning around either. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to get their designated player before the window closes, so you're going to wait till the summer. And my guess is Brad Friedel's not going anywhere until that player gets in, and you see if that changes anything. So he's probably there for the rest of the year. And we'll see if anything turns around. That's about all there is to it when it comes to the Revs.
It's just awful.
Let's get to D.C. and Columbus, because this one's got some talking points in it. D.C. gets the win, 3-1. Bill Hamid gave up an own goal at the end, or it would have been a clean sheet. Okay. Luciano Acosta, 27th minute. After Pedro Santos thought Columbus had the lead in the 22nd minute. You get a review. Everybody's wondering, what are they reviewing? What's going on here? There's nothing here. Oh, okay. There's a foul, phantom foul, that probably was committed by the referee Ted Unkel and not Will Trapp, because I don't think Will Trapp was able to get to Acosta because of the referee being there.
He's in the way, yeah.
It's called back, and then 5 minutes later, DC scores, and after the match, Caleb Porter went ballistic, as he should have. Went to VAR I think 3 other times in this match, and it was an experienced crew. I mean, Ted Unkel, like him or not, he's an experienced referee in this league. He's got over 80 games under his belt. Kevin Terry Jr. was your video assistant referee. He's got over 40 games as a VAR. Very experienced duo, and neither one seemed to be on the right page all night long. Lots of breaks in play, lots of deliberations, and ultimately the one that they really got wrong, I think, had a big swing in the match.
No doubt. And Domer wanted to ask us about this particular situation. Good morning, Domer. Wanted to know if we all got to see the Ted Unkel show, even though we will never know the discussion. In the earpiece, this has to be one of the most glaring breakdowns of a center ref and VAR official.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. There's no way to know that. The center referee makes the decisions, and we don't know how this one played out. I don't know what Kevin Terry Jr. could have called down for on that goal. I have no idea, because it's obvious once you take a look that there's no foul there. Trapp's not able to get to the DC player, Luciano Acosta, because Ted Unkel's in the way. And look, I've seen a lot of people try to say oh, Ted Unkel's horrible and this and that. It happens. Sometimes you get caught up, things change, and you get involved in the play. You're part of the field. It happens. You try not to. You do everything possible to avoid it. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. This time, I don't know how he got lost in that and how he got involved. It happens, though. I don't know what justification other than it didn't feel right you give to calling a foul there and not letting that Pedro Santos goal stand, because there was no foul. There was nothing there. So without knowing what the conversation was, there's no way to know if there was a breakdown. We don't know if Ted Unkel lobbied for it himself. We don't know if Kevin Terry Jr. said, hey, there is a foul here, go take a look. We don't know. And then from there on, we don't know what the other discussions were. So, I'm definitely reluctant to say that it was the biggest breakdown between the two, because there's no way to know that. Ultimately, it's on Unkel, because he's the one making the final decision. The VAR is just there to assist. So any issues here, you have to put on Unkel, and I think there's some questions. And I think Caleb Porter was 100% correct in being frustrated after the match.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I can't recall the last time that, for me, when the officials are part of play, and you made that point. And so I looked at that and I was like, okay, play on, everything's cool. And then everything gets pulled back and you're sitting there going, all right, I don't get this. And then you have what happened. And then DC goes on to win it 3-1. And, you look at this and I'm shrugging my shoulders now. And I know that doesn't translate to radio very well, but I mean, it was just one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen after an interaction with an official. Once again, in baseball, it hits off an umpire. It's still part of the deal. You get officials in football who are in the way of passing patterns and running plays, and they get trucked and things like that. So when you look at this situation, for me, I just sit there and I'm going, all right, I don't get this. And this was really not the call that needed to be made in this particular case at all.
You had VAR involved in taking a goal away from Columbus. You had VAR involved in upholding a goal for Luciano Acosta 5 minutes later off a free kick from Wayne Rooney. Then you had VAR involved late in the first half to check on a handball, and Will Trapp committed it, according to Unkel, and Rooney scored a penalty. So Columbus players and Porter tried to talk to the referee after the first half whistle. Didn't look very didn't look like a nice conversation. There was no invites for tea being given in this one. And
elevated vocal tones,
probably. And on the halftime
gesticulation.
interview, Sure. On the halftime interview with Fox Sports Ohio, Porter spoke of, quote, no respect for his team, and said that Uncle, quote, gets in the way and finds a reason to call the goal back. That was at halftime. Columbus came out and fought in the second half, but I think the frustration really affected the Crew, who have been struggling lately, and they didn't need this type of complication in the match added on to their recent struggles. So keep an eye on Columbus. Caleb Porter's got some work to do because they've hit a very rough patch as of late. Minnesota, Seattle 1-1 from Allianz Field. Pretty entertaining one. Ike Opara gets a goal in the 26th minute. Christian Roldan leveled it 16 minutes later with one of the goals of the week for sure. Couldn't find anything else in the game. The 1-1 felt like a pretty fair result, I think, which is okay for Minnesota, but at some point you got to start converting these to wins. Seattle, a lot of draws lately. Not losing, but a lot of draws lately.
Yeah, a lot of draws, which mean you ain't winning. Yeah, you ain't losing, but you ain't winning either. And, you know, you had a defensive setup that involved Saad Abdul Salam and Buana and Jordy Dellum. And, you know, I'm looking at Seattle and saying, all right, you're hanging on right now. Getting ones instead of threes, but for me, Minnesota's success is going to be predicated on not getting ones on the road and getting threes on the road. And that to me has been one of the guideposts for me when it comes to Minnesota is doing well on the road and getting full results. And so this was one of those opportunities where, with the roster that you have and what you've stacked it with, that you could have done something, but you ended up not doing anything.
Well, no,
except
Minnesota,
getting 1 point out.
Minnesota was at home here, so
that's right.
Yeah, Minnesota's at home. They haven't lost at home, but they've got 3 draws out of 4 at home. That's their issue. They're 3-3 on the road. They're okay on the road. They're solidly in a playoff spot. They're on 15 points or 4 points ahead of the Earthquakes. Are in the final spot. Minnesota's fine. You need to turn those 3 draws, at least a couple of them, into wins at home.
At home, yes.
Your road form's better. Seattle, 1-1-2 on the road. The 3 straight draws for them after the loss to LAFC, they're down to 5-1-4 now, and they're on 19 points. They're in 4th in the West. Houston passed them. The Galaxy stay ahead. LAFC stay ahead. Seattle, defensively, they do still have some questions. Brad Smith, Chad Marshall, Kim Keehee, and Saad Abdul Salam is your back line. I like Saad Abdul Salam. I think he's a starter in this league. He just hasn't been able to find a spot consistently. Nuhu Tolo not getting a ton of time here lately. It's between him and Smith on the left side. That's been a little surprising. No Gustav Svensson in this one, so it's Roldan and Jordy Dellum in the holding midfield. Seattle is not reeling because they're not losing, but they're dropping some points here and there that you would expect a team of their level to be picking up. We'll see if that changes for the rest of this month. 3 more games from the weekend to touch on. Real Salt Lake, 2-1 losers to Portland, who the Timbers have won 3 in a row on the road. They won 4 games on the road in the whole 2018 season. They've already got 3 now. They haven't played at home yet. Feels like it's starting to click for the Timbers, and for RSL, the inconsistency continues.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that a lot of Timbers fans were like, can we play all of our road games in the state of Ohio? But now you've expanded it to RSL, and for me, RSL is another one of those teams that sits there and you're like, all right, which one am I going to get from a game-to-game basis? And you'd think that with Rio Tinto being as, you know, with its history of being one of the more difficult places to play, that you'd think that RSL would be getting more out of it this season, and they're not. And you end up with, you know, Blanco getting one in the 34th, and you get the equalizer from Sam Johnson, but then Valeri comes back 6 minutes later, and I think that says a lot about what Portland's makeup is when you're looking at a team that I think is starting to find it and feel it right now. And sometimes it just takes a little longer to get yourself figured out. But right now you're seeing with Portland that they're getting it figured out, and they're getting full points right now in a very difficult road trip, although there were some pretty pictures that came out of Providence Park yesterday. But pretty pictures don't mean you can play there yet. But Portland's doing really well, recent form in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Portland's moved into ninth in the West. They're 3-5-1 overall now, but there's 3 wins on the road. Big numbers for the Timbers. Another big number, Diego Valeri became the 9th player in MLS history with 70 goals and 70 assists in his MLS career. Valeri is one of the greats in this league's history, and he just continues to deliver for the Timbers. San Jose, 1-0 winners over FC Cincinnati. No surprise here. Cincinnati just had a brutal stretch where they were in Philadelphia midweek, had to fly out West Coast to play against a team that just loves to take on teams that are tired and chase them, impress them, and harass them. They did. Quakes didn't really get as much as I thought they could have here. It's a Nick Lima goal in the 22nd. But the result, not a surprise, and San Jose is unbeaten in their last 4.
And for me, and we'll get into this in the next segment, playing a couple of San Jose players did very well for me in fantasy. So tip of the hat to the Earthquakes for doing stuff, and then playing defensively. Had Florian Ljungvirth and had Daniel Vega in net. So good work. I mean, and I think that with San Jose, we're going to see flashes, and then I think they're just going to be working on the consistency of what Matias Almeida wants. But yeah, I think that FC Cincinnati was just absolutely gassed heading out to the West Coast, and San Jose took advantage of it. But hey, doesn't matter how gassed your opponent is or how healthy they are. You come out of there with 3 points, you get 3 points.
A win's a win. I mean,
yep.
There's nothing to look for here. Christian Espinoza got a red card in the 51st minute, and second yellow for him. So he's out in the 51st. Cincinnati has a man advantage for most of the second half. 1-0 win. You're happy if you're the San Jose Earthquakes. There's nothing to complain about coming out of this one. You're unbeaten in 4. Nobody expected that from San Jose this year. Nobody expected a scoreless draw with LAFC in Chicago either.
Thanks, Carlos
Vela. I mean, it happens. Like, that's the thing, is everybody's looked at what LAFC has done, and they've been outstanding, but you can't score this many goals this often for this long. You're going to have a night like this. They didn't give up anything, which is a good sign, but they could not find a goal to win it. Carlos Vela can't score 2 goals every match.
But he was captained on my fantasy last week.
We're not talking about fantasy yet, John. There's a big difference. Big difference. Don't be that guy who's in the stands. He's on my fantasy team. Don't be that guy. The one guy standing up cheering for a player from the opposition. He's on my fantasy team. And then everybody throws beer at you. Don't be that guy.
Well, especially, and I think that guy is probably the same guy that has his own name on the back of a kit with a star's number attached.
It happens from time to time, or probably what that guy has is his fantasy team name on the back of his kit. That's usually how it goes.
Oh, there you go. Or a hashtag or something.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. But
can we talk about Chicago for a second?
Yeah, talk about Chicago.
Well, I think that with Gaetan, and once again, it's just getting more and more acclimated with what we're seeing. I'm looking forward to Chicago in the next little while as Gaetan gets to full song, and then you have Francisco Calvo at the back for more than just the 11-minute cameo, getting integrated into things. I think that I'm looking forward to the back line of Chicago now that Calvo's in-house and isn't treated like is thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
So hopefully he won't be thrown in the trash in his second team in as many seasons. But I like the ideas that we're seeing from Chicago offensively. Obviously, with Nikolic and Gaetan and Katai, I think there's something there. At least I hope there's something there. But I think that as Gaetan continues to get integrated, I think we'll see more of what we saw at Bridgeview, even though we didn't get to see it at the Bank.
Calvo's going to give you a lot of flexibility if you're Veljko Paunovic. It was a good pickup out of the trash can in Minnesota, according to Calvo. Adrian Heath threw him in the trash like a rookie. Veljko Paunovic sweeps in and picks him up, and now Veljko's got a guy who can come in and play in the middle. If you want to move Schweinsteiger into the midfield, you have that flexibility. He can play on the left. He can play as part of a 3 center back setup. you've got some options that you didn't really have before if you're Veljko Paunovic now. And the Fire are a team to keep an eye on as Gaetan gets integrated into the squad and Calvo gets in. But let's also look at their last 6 games. 1 win, 2 losses, 3 draws. They've got to start turning it around. Now they get 2 matches at home this week against New England tomorrow night and against Minnesota over the weekend. Those feel like 2 games that the Chicago Fire can win at home. And if they want to start making statements, they're 2 games that they should win at home.
And that's how I'm looking at this. And getting into the next segment, you'll have an answer as to why I think that way.
Fantasy soccer doesn't tell you everything, John. I'm going to keep hammering this point home. Fantasy soccer doesn't tell you that the Chicago Fire are going to do well.
No.
The Chicago Fire are going to do well because they've added some good players and they have more flexibility than they've had, period. On the other side, LAFC, they have 1 win in their last 4. Kind of surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, once again, it's like how you've got 26 goals in 11 matches. You can't keep up that pace. I mean, just because you're hitting 408 doesn't mean that you're going to be able to keep hitting 408 in the majors all season long. There's going to be a time when you hit that slump. How do you respond to the slump? And really, does it matter if you hit 400, or should it matter if you hit 380 and your team wins a pennant? I think that's the larger question here. Just because you're off and running doesn't mean you're going to stay that way for the entire season.
Yeah, LAFC scored 4 in the win over Seattle. They clean sheeted against Vancouver and against Chicago, and they got 1 goal against Seattle and could not score against 10-man Seattle at CenturyLink for about 80 minutes in that match last weekend. So LAFC coming back to the pack a little bit. Chicago, let's see if they can start to make some hay in the Eastern Conference. We're going to take a break, come back, get you set up for fantasy soccer. Not the real thing.
No.
Fantasy soccer.
All
it's
right.
a different conversation about who's good in fantasy, who's not good. We'll get into all that, get you set up because there's matches starting tomorrow. A lot of teams with 2 matches this week. The commissioner will chime in, Jason Wright of the Jason Wright Agency, with his thoughts right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, recapping the weekend in Major League Soccer, but now looking ahead from a fantasy soccer perspective. Thanks to Jason Wright of the Jason Wright Agency for supporting our Soccer Down here fantasy league. He's got some tips for you as well. The commish is one of the top teams in the league, but he did not have the most points in Week 10. That was Don't VAR Me, Bro.
Don't VAR me, bro.
Soccer-specific fantasy team and Czech Joseph are your next two at 106 points. In the Open League, Joseph Martinez uses the Oxford Commas number 1, soccer-specific fantasy team number 2, Don't VAR Me, Bro number 3, and it's pretty tight. They're only separated by 50 points over the whole year. The Pro Rel League's head-to-head, and soccer-specific fantasy team is on top with 27 points, 9-0-1. There's 4 teams at 21 points at 7-0-3. The Darren Eales Dream Team, Don't VAR Me, Bro, Cam Do Attitude, and Port City FC. Your matches in the Pro Rel League to look at this time around. Cam Do Attitude, number 4 in the league, facing the Black Hawk Bombers. Holly Springs FC facing the Commish, the Jason Wright Agency. And 18 versus 20, a relegation battle. Smurfs versus Black Star FC.
Little Smurfos.
Yeah, we'll see if Papa Smurf can chime in on that one and help the Smurfs not get relegated.
I hate relegation.
Well, yeah, Papa Smurf would hate relegation. It's true. Double game week, and it starts tomorrow. Here are your teams that are on double games. Atlanta United, both at home. Toronto, 1 away, 1 at home. Columbus, both at home. LA Galaxy on the road, then at home. Chicago, who we just talked about, both at home and both, I think, very productive games potentially. New England away and then back at home. Red Bull home and then away. Montreal, both games away. Now, here's the commission's tip, and I think this is a great one because I just heard John complaining about not getting all these points. Or no, you actually had a good week. How many points did you get this week?
Let's see. How many points did I get this week? Let's see. So, of course, I'm in the middle of changing my roster.
Well, you were like 20th. So you had a good total, but you were like 20th in the league for the week.
Well, I mean, I had 95 points last week, which was 7th in the league overall, but that raised me 3 positions in the ladder to 23rd.
Yeah, you know why? Because you're not creative. Because if you want to start making up points in the standings, you got to be creative because you probably had the same players that everybody else did. So if you do, then everybody's going to get the same number of points. There's no room to grow. This is the time of the year where when you pick up a guy and you play a guy that somebody else doesn't think of and that player produces, that's where you get points that somebody else didn't get. When you take risk with your picks right now, you can start to make up ground. If you're in the top, and this is a good point from the commish, the top 10, you do what you do because you're set. But if you're outside of that top 10, or if you're in a relegation battle in the Pro Rel League, you're looking for those different kind of players. You're looking for that player who pops up and has a big week. You're looking for that team that maybe you get a center back who gets a clean sheet for a team that you might not have expected to get a clean sheet. You've got to look for those players that are different if you want to make up ground because they're going to help you pick up points that others don't have. And the commish gives you the advice to go look at the Stats Center on MLS Fantasy to see the percentage of teams picking a player. So when you see a player that you like that jumps out to you and they're not on a lot of teams, that's a good play if you're trying to pick up points.
Roger that. And I've pretty much got my roster at least figured out until I change it for this weekend.
Okay. Well, are you going to share it, or do you not want people to know your differential play?
Oh, no. I mean, my full disclosure has been to share and have you openly ridicule it.
Of course. That's what we do.
Goal, Vega, going up against New England.
Okay.
Backline, Miles, Amro Tarek, Calvo, and Steris.
Amro Tarek, huh?
because they're at home against Montreal, and then they go to Dallas.
That last part.
And he scored last week.
That last part. Amro Tarek's not going to score very often. If you're expecting Amro Tarek goals to bail you out in fantasy soccer, dude, really? It's Amro Tarek.
Then the middle, I've got Gaetan, Pozuelo, Tomas Martinez, and Gressel.
Okay.
And up top, obviously, I have Zlatan and Vela because I'm not going to move them. I'm not going to move Vela, Ibrahimovic, and Pozuelo because of where they are and how they impact the salary structure of the team, and the fact that they give me as many points as they do as a base every single week, and a bench of Wynn, Alvarez, and Jackson ML.
So if you are constructed like John's team and you have 3 players that probably most teams have, and you're not going to move them, then you really have to find those diamonds in the rough. Because I'd say the majority of teams have Vela and Zlatan, and a lot of teams have Pozuelo. So you don't have a whole lot of margin for error. And, yeah, Amro Tarek's a bold move. If he gets you a goal, that's great, but it's hard to count on defender goals on a regular basis. Couple guys that jump out to me really quick. David Ousted for Chicago, 2 home games. The Fire get New England and Minnesota come into town. That feels like David Ousted could be looking at 2 wins and maybe a clean sheet in at least one of them. I like the potential of that one. Atlanta with back-to-back home games, you're looking at guys who might play in both. Defensively, it's not crazy to think about a guy like Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez in these, because Toronto's more of a goal threat than Orlando, but neither one is lighting it up, and both have issues. I mean, Josie Altidore out hurts Toronto. Orlando just not being able to get anything out of Dom Dwyer. Going with an Atlanta defender, not a bad play with 3 clean sheets in the last 4. Columbus with 2 at home.
And because it's LA and LAFC.
That's a good one, yeah, but the matchups aren't great, and there's not really a player that jumps out to me in the attacking side. I think Columbus has bigger issues, so I don't know if I'd touch that. The other double games, I mean, Chicago, there's some risky picks that you could take if you expect them to get some goals. I mean, CJ Sapong has been scoring some goals this season. Do you expect that to continue? He's got 4. Nemanja Nikolic, very good forward. He's got 3.
Katai?
You're playing 2 teams that are going to give up goals. Katai's got 1 goal this year, but he picks up assists. So, does Gaetan, with 2 assists so far, does he get going? You've got some very intriguing attacking plays for Chicago and players that probably are not on many teams. So if you're looking for that difference maker, Chicago could be your team to really zero in on this week with their schedule and the potential for some guys to have points that other teams aren't picking up on. Thanks again, Jason Wright Agency, Jason Wright AGEN on Twitter, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Thanks to Jason for supporting our fantasy league and keeping us up to date on MLS fantasy each week. We're going to take a break. We're going to talk about the transfer window. It closes today. Who needs to make a move? Who is being talked about making a move? What moves have already been made? We'll catch you up right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. Hour 2, May 7th. The transfer window for Major League Soccer closes today. Yes, MLS is one of the weird leagues around the world that has a very long transfer window at this stage. It's closed from today until July 7th. So if you want to make a trade, if you want to add a player, this is your last chance until July 7th. New England has been talking about this mythical designated player for a long time. I don't
Why,
think
yes,
it's
they
gonna
have.
happen, because we don't know who it is. So I'm assuming it's not happening until July. And when you dig into that, by that stage, when that window opens, so let's say they get it done and he's ready to join up day 1, July 7, New England will have 19 matches played. How much of an impact can that really have? That's the issue you run into when you don't get your business done early. Business that has been done in the window so far recently, Brian Fernandez, the Argentine attacker/winger, is in Portland. It's done. Necaxa let him go ahead of the Liguilla in Mexico. I'm a little surprised by that, but likely it had something to do with the at least $10 million that they will be getting from the Portland Timbers, one of the biggest transfers in MLS history, biggest transfer in Portland history. There is still a question about a suspension for him. He had a 3-match ban in Liga MX for the incident in Monterrey, where Monterrey fans were getting very close and yelling very unkind things at him, and he spit in their general direction. They were up in the stands, so his spit did not have the power to reach them, so he did not spit on them, but he spit in their direction. They threw a cup at him. He threw a cup back. It was a crumpled up cup, but still, it was a bad look all the way around. I think Fernandez was absolutely goaded into this, but he took the bait. So he got a 3-game ban. He served one of those over the weekend. He's got 2 games left on that ban. Is that going to carry over? Generally, they do. Now, I don't know how the Timbers could get out of it, but generally they do. And honestly, that gives him a little bit of time to train and get accustomed to his teammates before jumping straight in. I don't think it's a bad thing if he sits out 2 games. Just ride it out and get it done. It should not be ignored. You can't ignore bans from other leagues when players come into your league. So it's not worth the fight. Take it, move on. Fernandez, there's been questions about him attitude-wise, but not this type of behavior generally. And if you saw the video, it's one of those that you wish he didn't do it, but you kind of understand it, the way it all went down. And I think he knew there's no way he could spit on the people. I think he was making his point clear in a very vulgar way, but still, he wasn't spitting on them. They were way too high up. It was a bad situation all the way around. Shouldn't have done it. Take your punishment, move on. But Fernandez will help them. And what I'm curious to see is, does he go up top, because he's a very different type of forward than Jeremy Abobasi, or do you keep Abobasi in the team who's been playing really well lately? Sometimes you need that push that, hey, you're about to be replaced, and your play suddenly picks up. Do you keep Abobasi up top and then play an attacking 3 around him of Valeri, Blanco, and Fernandez? I kind of like that latter idea.
Yeah, I do too. And right now with Ebobisi's form, and I think that you're right on with the idea that, Ebobisi probably reads the papers, looks on the web, uses a Google machine, hears the rumors, looks on social media. And sometimes you just need that to get a fire lighted underneath you. And then you have as of right now, you have a very solid attacking four chasing after everything for Portland right now. And, having won 3 in a row and getting their way close to the playoff bar, I mean, watch out for Portland right now for me.
Yeah, once he gets going, I think they'll be very difficult when they get into Providence Park, the newly expanded Providence Park, which will be open in the next month. Columbus picked up David Guzman, the Costa Rican central midfielder from Portland for an international slot. Probably had a hand in the Fernandez deal. Columbus has lost 5 in a row. They beat New England on April 6th. They lost 1-0 in Montreal. They lost 3-1 at home to Portland. They lost 1-0 to D.C. They lost 2-0 in Houston. They lost 3-1 in D.C. They have scored 2 goals in their last 5. You get David Guzman, nice addition. Where's he going to play? Because you've had the combination of Will Trapp and Artur for seemingly ever. It's been about 3 years now, and they're a very good pair. You have Higuain in front of them. Are you going to get more defensive because that's just what it takes right now if you're Caleb Porter? Or are you going to figure out some different things? I'm curious here because Guzman is a good player. I think it's a good pickup. But where does he really fit for the Crew? They have other needs.
Yeah, and that for me is the larger issue here. And you've got that stellar, the stellar pairing, and you're gonna try to juggle it and figure out. All right, so I've got the new guy. Let's figure out how he integrates, and I'm gonna mess up something that's been very established in Columbus for a very long time. So I want to see how this gets figured out. I want to see what Caleb Porter's ideas are. But for me right now, in 11 matches, you've only scored 9 goals, and that most of that 9 happened in the first 6. So for me, there are more pressing things that need to be figured out right now for Columbus than maybe messing up one of your better pairings in MLS right now.
I think this move's a precursor to Will Trapp going in the summer. They turned down a deal for Trapp going into the season. Didn't hit the number that they wanted. You're going to be in the summer transfer window in Europe. You've got a month. I think it's a precursor to that because otherwise I don't really know why you do it. Hasn't been Caleb Porter's way to play 3 defensively minded central midfielders. I don't know if this group necessarily works that way. I think Artur could push up higher. I mean, maybe you're going to look at tweaking things a little bit to play the 3 of them. Artur as a sort of number 10, but more of a box to box and try to make late runs into the box. Guzman could maybe play that role as well and slide Higuain out wide to try to take advantage of things. He's not a typical winger, but you're not really playing with a ton of width out of your wingers anyway. You're getting your outside backs forward. I think this is more than anything just that, hey, look, there's a lot of offers for Will Trapp, and we're probably going to have to take one in the summer because I think he's ready to go. I think the money's going to be right. Feels like it's going to be time, so you go ahead and get Guzman because he's available. Now, rumors at the moment, let's catch you up on what we have seen so far this morning. Ecuadorian center back Xavier Arriaga from Barcelona SC in Ecuador, linked to Seattle Sounders. They need depth at center back. It makes some sense. There's been speculation that maybe it's a move for the Houston Dynamo. Don't know if it really fits there. Seattle seems to be the one that would fit. Likely a TAM player, not a designated player, not a massive signing. Transfer marked has him valued at £1 million. That's comfortable. You can make that work. Young, 24 years old, starting to get a lot of playing time. He's got Copa Libertadores experience. It feels like a good buy for a team, and if it's Seattle, it makes sense. The reports out of Toronto when it comes to Omar Gonzalez are not good for the Reds. Toronto Sun's Steve Buffery reports that the move is falling through, and it's not going to happen. Not a lot of time left. I think they were kind of counting on this one to get done. Drew Moore's calf has been a problem for a while now. I don't think that's going away. They're not the same team without Drew Moore. You need somebody else in the center of your defense. You traded Nick Hagglund to Cincinnati, and you got a lot of allocation money for him. Mavinga can't do everything. If it doesn't happen, it's an issue for Toronto. Houston did just add international slot, so keep that in mind when you're thinking about teams that could be moving today. There's reports out of Germany that Chicago's adding a goalkeeper, Kenneth Kronholm. I don't know if they really need to with Usted doing so well, but keep an eye there. And then Dennis DeClose in L.A. There's been links for Galaxy to multiple different players out of Argentina. The Galaxy made 2 moves last week to stack up some targeted allocation money. It feels like a move is coming. Who and what position do they play is the question. And then one more, it looks like it's going to be more about the summer window. I don't think anything's going to happen now. Memo Ochoa, remember him? Mexican goalkeeper, 34 years old, linked reportedly to either Chicago or Nashville. But there's also some interest from European clubs, including Porto. 34, Ochoa is a guy who would move the needle. He's a legendary goalkeeper for the Mexican national team. Chicago, again, I don't know if it's the need now with Usted. I would have said before Usted got there and before he's shown good form that, yes, they need a goalkeeper. Maybe they don't so much anymore. Nashville, he'd be a great pickup for them. Veteran, going to sell tickets, going to be a great person in the community for a community that has a large Mexican population. If you don't know that about Nashville and that area, they do really well with Mexican clubs coming through, with the Mexican national team. Memo Ochoa at 34, I think he's still got a good bit left in the tank. That would be a smart kind of signing. I mean, you don't want to spend stupid money, but if you can get him on a high TAM deal or a deal that's maybe a DP for a year and then becomes a TAM deal, I'm not completely against it. I'm generally not a fan of international goalkeepers, but Ochoa is one that I would make an exception for.
And to your point about moving the needle in a new market, to have that guidepost, to have that first post, that first fence post in the line. I think that if Nashville can grab a Memo Ochoa and have him be that link to the community out of the blocks, I think it would be a great pickup for Nashville. And then I guess in the summer window, you just try to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with him between summer window and the start of the 2020 season? And, there's a bunch of different things you can do there, but I would love to see him in Nashville to be that linchpin to the community. I think it'd be a really cool pickup if they could figure out how to do it.
Yeah, as a designated player, I don't think, as a big-time designated player for a long time, like on a Tim Howard deal, I don't think it's worth it. But if you can get him on a good number that makes sense, he is a player who will move the needle. There's not. I think sometimes we think that just any good player from Europe, any good player is going to move the needle. I think Ochoa is one that could move the needle on a smaller number, and that could be really valuable in terms of building the marketing of Nashville SC. So keep an eye there. There's a really weird thing that came out Pro Soccer USA. Julian Cardillo reported that the Revolution turned down $150,000 in allocation money over the offseason for Gabriel Somi, the Swedish left back for New England, who has not played since last July, was loaned out to USL last season and barely played. He's been in the 18 twice since that final appearance, one time this season, and they turned down anything for him is crazy. Cardillo stood by his reporting. Pro Soccer USA stood by the reporting. The Revolution responded to the report and said that the details of the article were, quote, wildly inaccurate. I don't know, but that's bizarre, and I've wondered what the deal is with Somi for a while. You've played Brandon Bai at left back a second-year player who is converting to a defender. You've played him moving over from the right side to left back instead of playing Somi, who's a natural left back. One of the worst signings in recent years in MLS.
And
Second division Sweden is not really where you're going to find a lot of talent.
No, and when you said confusion over a possible trade and the Revs in the same sentence, that didn't surprise me. And I'm waiting for this mystery DP, and thankfully I'm not holding my breath over it, but I want to see who this particular individual is, and I don't know why you wouldn't clear any kind of space thinking that you might be getting more than $150,000 for Gabriel Somi. I don't know. So why you're hanging on to him, why you've allegedly turned down $150K in allocation money, you just sit there and you look at this and you go, why? And you just shake your head at the Revs on more than one level with what's been going on and what hasn't really been going on in New England. You just kind of sit there and you go, really?
Well,
and then why?
Reported. We don't know if this is how it went down. I don't know. I mean,
and
it's not a ton of money. Let's be real. It's not like they didn't turn down $500,000. They didn't turn down $400,000. It's $150 in allocation money, which would be nice for a player that you're not using, but it's not going to change who they are. It's not going to make any massive difference for the Revolution in 2019. It's just a weird little story that's popped up. Out of Scotland, and this would probably be for the summer window, I don't see this happening today at all. Emilio Izaguirre, the Honduran international, has been offered a new deal at Celtic, holding out for a better offer elsewhere, thinking potentially about Major League Soccer. That's a player in the summer that could be a nice pickup for somebody. But let's go through. There's an article over at MLSsoccer.com from yesterday. Tom Bogert wrote this about 5 teams who most need to make a move by the end of today. New England is number 5. We know there's been talk. We don't see anything happening, and it'll probably happen in the summer where it's not going to make much of a difference for this year anyway. Columbus is number 4. Now, they did add Guzman. They do have an open designated player slot. They have open international slots. They've got a lot of flexibility to deal with. I agree with Matt Doyle. I think they need an upgrade at winger. Justin Merrim coming back has not been the guy. Robinho is all right. He's not the guy. Pedro Santos hasn't really been the guy as a designated player. Santos could be the other guy and be a nice compliment, but he has not been what Merrim used to give you. When you had Merrim and Ethan Finley and they were flying on either side of Higuain, you were more effective than you've been since Merrim went to Orlando for the first time. So that's what you need. There's been no links to anything happening there. So not expecting anything from them today. The Galaxy are the one that they've been linked to multiple players out of Argentina. They're trying to add attacking depth. Dennis DeClose says, yeah, we're trying to add it. We're trying to do it. You've got Roman Alessandrini out injured for a while. He's out till September. When he was in the 11 with Zlatan, with Jonathan Dos Santos, with Sebastian Lletget, with Joe Corona, 4-0-0. They've not been that since he got injured.
Nope.
Can Pontius, Emma Boateng, can they be that?
Nah.
I think they're trying. I think LA is going to make a move. I think the Galaxy are going to bring somebody in. You don't go get $600,000 in TAM last week. Yeah, if you don't have a deal ready to go, you're not going to go get that. Now, things can always fall through at the last minute, but I think they're going to make a move today. I think we'll have an announcement out of the Galaxy today. Sporting Kansas City's one who, man, with the injury list they have,
yes,
they need to go find something. I don't know really how much they have to work with, and I don't know who's out there in the league. You don't really have a lot of depth right now. I mean, they've got Sanovic.
But he's not playing.
He played this game, and he did fine.
Out of necessity.
He did fine. Like, at some point, you got to turn to necessity when guys are injured, but how much of a market is there for Seth Sanovic in the league? You need to add players, not ship them out. Yeah. You're not going to trade Seth Sanovic for a center back that you need right now. You're not going to trade him for another left back. He's 32. It's not going to happen. So who has depth that you could go find another center back or another central midfielder? I don't know. And they're going to have to move fast. I don't know if they can pull something together that quick. Toronto was number 1 on Bogart's list, and the Omar Gonzalez rumors are the big reason for that. And with the recent reporting out of the Toronto Sun that this might not be happening, Toronto won't be done without it. They can hang around in the East until the summer window if they have to wait till they get their center back until then. But they could really use Omar Gonzalez right now.
Yeah. And when you're number 1 and you've shifted some deck chairs to become number 1 in the allocation order. And that to me means, once again, you're not trading for Am if you don't have anything in mind. You're not going to number 1 in the allocation order if you don't have anything in mind.
Or you're not holding on to number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
they didn't move up for it. They made which was the move that was it the Galaxy who moved up? Toronto forced a second deal to hold on to that number 1 spot. They didn't want to move back to 11.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't want to move all the way back to where the Galaxy were. They said, no, you're going to get to 2, and then we'll trade with you, so we stay number 1. That makes you think that the Omar move was close, and Paul Tenorio reported it. A lot of people reported it. If it's fallen through, it's fallen through. These things do happen. They're going to add another center back.
Yeah,
but you can't go spend stupid money right now if your deal fell through.
No,
and they're not that desperate. They're not New England who needs something right now. Toronto can get through till the summer if they have to wait. They don't have to go below that spot. Well, and that spot's on a limited number of people, so that's different. But they don't have to go below that money on some other center back because you can't get Omar here. But you'd really like to get Omar done and get him back in the league and get him into Toronto.
And Toronto has never been shy about spending money to bring in players. And they've, I think that they're going to make some kind of a move today.
You don't have a designated player spot. So, I mean, you can be very bold in spending money, but you're limited because you don't have a DP slot. You got TAM money, probably. You probably have discretionary TAM money, but Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, and Alejandro Pozuelo are sitting in designated player slots. So you're limited in how ambitious you can be with Omar.
And I mean, we have seen teams become imaginative when it comes to wanting to bring in players in the past. And they might have to use their imagination.
I think you're limited. You signed Josie to a new deal, so you don't really have any flexibility there. You just signed Pozuelo, so you don't have any flexibility there. Bradley's on $5 million a year. You're back to the Giovanni Dos Santos thing where you're not going to be allowed. And now the precedent's been set, thankfully, by Major League Soccer. There, they held firm. You're not going to be allowed to buy him out and sign him to a new deal or sign him to a new deal that would make him a TAM player. You don't have the flexibility to do it. So whoever you bring in has got to be a TAM player if you have a TAM to work with. You don't have that much flexibility.
Not what I'm, but then do you use the Zlatan-esque imagination to try to bring in a player?
I mean, that wasn't that imaginative. Let's be real. That wasn't imaginative. Now, the only thing that you can do if that's where you're at, because Zlatan, the signing for him was not imaginative. You signed him to the max deal you could give him. And then he outperformed it and said, you're going to pay me more. And they said, okay, and we're going to buy this guy out. Well, Bradley's contract's up at the end of the year. If you're going to move on from Michael Bradley, or you already have a handshake that you're able to get him back on a TAM deal, give him 3-4 years at 1.5, or if you think the TAM threshold is going to increase, okay. But you're going to have to sell that to somebody who's going to then take less money now for more money later. Not a lot of players are willing to do that.
And that's for me was what I was thinking was that it was going to be one of those deals where, okay, we'll pay you this now to bring you back, but then, a handshake and a wink, wink, nudge, nudge that, yeah, we'll do something a little later on.
Well, there's not a lot of room here. That's the thing, is there's not like 5 different ways to play this. That's the only play. And are you going to sign Omar Gonzalez to a more than $1.5 million a year deal in the long run? Not worried about individual years, but more than that over the life of the contract. And are you going to be able to convince Michael Bradley to go from $5 million to 1.5 or less over a longer period of time so Omar can make more money? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think you do it. I don't think you can pull that off. So if Omar wants more than the TAM threshold, I think you're out of luck, and you have to move on to another move, because Michael Bradley's been your rock in Toronto. I don't see them just waving goodbye to him as he walks out the door at the end of the season.
Right.
I don't think they should. I don't think that'd be a smart move at all. Like, if you can get him on a non-designated player deal, that's great. Have you actually started talking about it? If you've got something lined up, cool. But I don't think you sacrifice Michael Bradley to bring in Omar Gonzalez. That doesn't feel like a smart move. So let's get into the Tuesday thoughts after this. Whatever you guys are thinking about out there in the Twitterverse, tweet at us. We have them. Use the hashtag Tuesday thoughts. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get to that right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. Tuesday Thoughts. What are the peeps out there in Radio Land asking us?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, did we mention that the Colonel didn't know what dupe meant either?
Colonel, I'm disappointed. It's been 2010. Come on.
So at least I'm not alone in my lack of dupeness or dupe knowledge.
Come on.
Jim Lepp wants to know, why do transfer windows exist? Seems pretty easy to me that the arguments against them are numerous given the global nature of the game.
To not invite chaos. I mean, in every league here even, you don't have a window per se. You don't have like 2 windows to work in. You have deadlines though, and you have trade deadlines, and you have dead periods of the schedule where you can't make moves, and you have free agency things. So just to not invite chaos, because you don't want to see a situation where Manchester City or let's say Liverpool Okay, so you don't have windows, and Liverpool has these injuries, and they say, oh, man, all right, let's go find this guy, and let's go give him $100 million to come
$100
in
million
and try to help us win this. It's just, it doesn't make sense when you're operating a competition, so I think you have to have windows. The MLS one is weird with this one at the beginning of the season where it stretches into the year. I'm not a fan of it, and I think some teams just make bad decisions because of it. They don't get their business done early, and they bring guys in at this stage, and then it takes time for them to adjust, and then you've kind of ruined the year because of it. I would rather see what the Premier League has gone to, where your transfer window before the season ends before the season starts, and then you have your mid-season window, and that's it. But every country in the world has transfer windows. You're not getting away from them.
Then the question from Kevin in Charlotte, who is apparently in Charlotte. Why is the MLS transfer window open so long? It feels weird.
Shrug emoji. I don't know. I don't like it. I'd rather see it end the week of the season. End with the roster deadline, the roster compliance date. End it there. The schedule, I mean, is probably the reason that it started being weird, just because you're on a different schedule from not every league in the world, but a lot of them. So you wanted to give this flexibility. I don't think it really helps you a ton, because once the window closes in Europe, for example, you're not getting anybody who is playing over there, because they're not going to give them up. Go ask the New England Revolution about how this is going. Whoever this mythical designated player is for New England is playing for a club who's either trying to stay up or trying to earn European competition or trying to win a league. They're not going to let him walk. That's why I was shocked the Brian Fernandez deal got done, as Necaxa goes into the postseason. They need the money. A lot of clubs don't. So you're not able to really utilize this window in a very effective way with it being stretched. You have some options for trades within the league, and I don't know if you could leave the trade window open and not have the transfer window open. I don't know if MLS would be able to function that way. I don't think they would, so I guess they just bite the bullet and leave the window open. I'd rather have it the Friday before the season, the window closes. Then it opens up in the summer as usual. That's it. Keep it simple. Get your business done at a reasonable time to prepare for the season, and that's all.
Then Jim comes back and says, chaos can be fun. I understand closing X number of games prior to the playoffs, but chaos can also present creative opportunity.
Yeah, it can, but it can also allow teams with money to stomp on teams that don't, and I'm not a fan of that. So, I think you gotta have it the way that you do. It's just, look, I mean, when everybody else is doing it a certain way, I don't know if FIFA would allow you to do things that differently. You're going to have to operate in the construct that the world has when it comes to windows. You have your winter window, which for MLS is your preseason window. You have your summer window, which is the preseason window for Europe. South American leagues operate on that type of model. The leagues here should too.
John Roper with a local question.
Okay.
Do we have a left back hole? Is there a search for a transfer, or more likely a call-up from ATO UTD2? Hashtag Tuesday Thoughts.
I think getting Mikey Ambrose back in training has solved that issue. I think that's the move that will probably happen here, is that Mikey Ambrose back in training. Mikey Ambrose back maybe a month earlier than you expected. He might be able to contribute this month. That's your addition back from injury as opposed to going out in the market. So I don't know if there's anybody out there that you would be interested in getting. You do have a senior roster spot. You don't have a reserve or supplemental roster spot. So that limits you a little bit in some ways. There are some different salary numbers that you have to hit, and you can't sign a guy at a low number and put him on a senior spot and then move him out of that later. So it's a little tricky in that regard. Call-ups from Atlanta United 2 who could play, who are on MLS deals. I mean, we've seen John Gallagher in the 18s, not on the left side, but as a depth piece on the right side. We've seen Dion Pereira in 18s pretty consistently lately. Gordon Wild has been in Germany getting his green card. You could see Gordon Wild be in the mix at some point. Anderson Asayadu is another one who I think is trying to play his way into that mix, who we haven't seen for the first team yet. International slots are an issue, but there's some flexibility. Jose Hernandez is the one that's been a bit of a surprise. He's had some injuries, but I thought Jose Hernandez might be pushing for some time. We saw him late last year at the end of the season make an appearance. We've seen him some with ATL UTD too, but not that much. And he came in with a pretty good pedigree. I'm not sure what the holdup has been for Hernandez. I expected a little bit more out of him. I think he's still got the quality to give it. Just haven't seen it yet.
And a spin-off question along those same lines from one of the contributors to our Greenville Triumph Weekly, Chris Ashley, the host of Yeah, That Soccer Show.
What's
he
up,
said,
Chris Ashley?
Will Atlanta... What up, Chris Ashley, at Youth Guy Cash? Will Atlanta United make any moves today ahead of the transfer deadline? You've answered that. And his
not
follow-up question
expecting
is, should they?
No, I don't think so. I think Ambrose coming back solves that problem. You've got good depth at center back. You've got depth now, and I think Gallagher's inclusion in 18s makes you feel like, okay, you've got depth on the right side. Also, you've seen that Michael Parkhurst can play anywhere on the back line. That helps you. Eric Remedi's injury wasn't any kind of a long-term thing. You've got him and Lorenowitz. You've got Nagby. You've got cover pretty much everywhere on the field. So I don't think there's a dramatic need to go get something done. Now, you should listen. You should always keep your ears on because you never know. You might have a player that pops up and you're like, wow, I didn't think he would be available. Okay. Yeah, that would help. That would make us better. But I don't think there's a need that they have to go fill.
Jeremy York and our friends over at Impact. Pity's on the cusp of being the player we saw before United. Also, is the team we saw on Sunday a better representation of the Atlanta United we'll see going forward, or is it more like another previous performance this season?
I think it was the best performance of the season. I think it was by far the best performance of the season because they did what they have set out to do in terms of being a possession-oriented team that limits chances for the opposition. They did that. They also created high-quality scoring chances and converted on them. You want to do both. I think they did that. I think it's another step in the right direction. Third clean sheet out of 4, third win out of 4. Feels like things are moving in the right direction, and you should expect them to continue to get better. That can't be your ceiling because there's a lot of games left. You're not trying to peak now. You're trying to peak going into the postseason. I think there's a lot of room to continue to improve, but yeah, it was by far the best performance of the year. Pitti, yeah, I mean it's getting closer. I thought what I liked out of him in this one was instead of it feeling like every time Pitti was on the ball, he was looking for a huge play. Sometimes he took the simple play in this match against Kansas City. That's good. That means I think the pressure is easing on him a little bit from what he's feeling and the way it's showing from him. He doesn't feel like he has to pull out a highlight reel play every time he touches the ball. Sometimes the simple play is the one to do, and I thought he did more of that against Kansas City. He'll need to do more of that now with Barco out to be, even though I'd like to have him on the end of plays, he's going to have to be a little more involved in building plays up and make that adjustment.
Tafka, speaking of Barco, with a two-step here. Difference between 2018 Barco and 2019 Barco is his willingness to shoot. In 2018, defenses recognized he was unlikely to pull the trigger, which allowed them to always play containment defense and give more space than you would a sniper. Now, willing to shoot and finding success doing so, defenders now have to commit to closing him down, and it's opening up more opportunities for successful passing and dribbling.
I disagree because I think that's the take that's been going on about Barco for too long about he's got to shoot more. He's got to shoot more. He's shooting more, yes. That part is happening. But last year he was getting closed down pretty quick anyway. It wasn't that teams were sitting back and giving him options. He didn't take the ones that presented themselves, but they weren't like playing containment defense on him because he got fouled a ton. Teams were stepping out to him a lot, and he struggled with that at times. I think right now he's just playing with confidence. I think, one, yeah, he's probably feeling a little more free to shoot, and that's good. you don't have Miguel Almiron in this team anymore. So somebody's got to fill some of that need. Barco's doing that. I also think this coaching staff is giving him more confidence to be that guy. And I think the players around him are giving him that confidence to be that guy. I think the reality of everything is different in 2019. I don't think it's as simple as him shooting more and everything's changed. Honestly, I think teams in some ways have to back off of him a little bit more now because of Pitty's presence, because of what Joseph did last year, and because they don't know what he's going to do. He might dribble, he might shoot, he might pass. Now that you're getting the movement off the ball, he's got all those options, and it's harder to defend him. I don't think teams dropped off of him consistently last year because of the number of free kicks he earned, the number of times he was fouled, the involvement he had in that area of the game shows that he was getting closed down pretty quick. I think he just didn't deal with it as well as he could have. It's not just the shooting. I think it's too simplified there. For me, he's just playing with a whole lot more confidence right now, and the team is making him feel that confidence as well, and that's helping.
Daniel Price. Is Barco the boat-shaped young Messi? Deep Tuesday Thoughts was his hashtag.
I think Barco is a Juan Ramon Riquelme, and I've said that from day one. Different player than Messi. I don't think Barco will ever be the goal scorer that a Lionel Messi is in any league. He's not a natural goal scorer. He is a natural creator. He's always going to try to find the killer pass and the chance being created for somebody else rather than being greedy or selfish and looking for it for himself. That's just who he is. But he is the type of player that is special, and he's the type of player that could wear the Argentine national team kit for a long time. He's easily that.
John Nason says he finally had the opportunity to sync at Mike Conti 929 and at Longshoe to the FS1 broadcast Sunday. I'd have to say, really enjoyed the game that way. Thanks, guys.
No, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Yeah, we were feeling it. It was a fun game to call. It was a game where I think we were able to get into more tactics at times because of the way it played out and try to explain, what differences we were seeing and what, evolutions we were seeing with Atlanta United. So I hope it came off well. But thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Percy Herrera's joking about bringing Emil Assad back, poaching him from D.C. just because.
Yeah. There has been some talk that D.C. has reached out to Vélez Sarsfield to try to get him back. I don't think he's played for Vélez since he went back. He made the 18 at least once, maybe a couple times. I don't get it. I don't know why he didn't go back in the first place. I don't know what the holdup was. Reportedly, it was around how the money would be paid out, not so much the amount of money it was going to take to bring him back. Vélez didn't want to, take money for him, but then they haven't used him, so it's just an awkward situation all the way around. Like, he doesn't need to be there anymore. He needs to play somewhere. DC has his rights. DC could absolutely fit him in and be an even bigger handful with Assad, with Rodriguez, with Acosta, and with the potential for Luciano Acosta to be gone. It doesn't look like he's going to stay. If you can go get Emil Assad, you go get Emil Assad if you're DC United.
Kevin from Charlotte again. Could it be that Atlanta United has or had too many alphas on the team last year and this year? Barco and Miggy need touches and play in the same space last year. Same with PT and Barco this year. Add in emotional state of players. Joseph wants to be the man. Maybe feels he needs to prove it with Miggy gone. All the hype with PT coming in. I feel at times Joseph and PT's mental connection isn't there. Joseph is not playing simple enough, almost as if he's trying to one-up PT.
No. Joseph's not trying to one-up Pitti. Don't get that narrative started. That's something people will try to run with. Joseph is more involved in the build-up play, first off. That's due to more of the system, and that's due to more of the possession. You're asking Joseph to do more things. He's doing more things, and he's doing them really well. It's not a bad thing for Pitti and Barco and Joseph to be in the same spots. That's in the attacking side of the field. That's not a bad thing. What you have to do is when they are, Gressel has to make that run on the opposite side. Escobar has to make that run. Your left back has to make that run to open things up. But, yeah, I want Barco and Pitti and Joseph combining in tight space because they can do it, and they can break down a team that way. So I'm cool with that. I don't think there's anything about alphas being a problem. I think last year for Barco specifically, he came into a team, he came from Independiente, where everything in Independiente was directed to play to Barco in the final third, let him figure it out. Here it was try to play and transition to Miguel Almiron in space and let him figure it out. And that's a very different game than Barco was used to, and he had never played in a system like that. I think he struggled to find his way, although he did play well in the first half of the season. He was creating chances and doing a lot of big things. Played well. Not as well as he's playing this year because it's a different system that suits him a little bit more in possession. He likes to get those touches. He feels comfortable getting those touches. And the things that we talked about last year with him dribbling to move a defense around, they're really effective in this possession game that Atlanta's playing now.
John Roper says, it'd be nice if Atlanta United began to peak as other teams in the East are beginning to fall off. What are the chances? Hashtag Tuesday Thoughts.
That'd be nice. You don't want to peak, but start to put things together? Absolutely. 3 wins out of the last 4 show it. I mean, yeah, you can look at the opposition, and that factors in, but you're winning games, you're winning points, you're moving up the table. That's what you want to be doing right now.
Let's see. John Nason, going back to the Ted Uncle experiment, and Chris Kilroy chimed in on the Ted Uncle situation as well. Think of it like the Joseph goal called back for tripping during his crossover move. There does appear to be minimal contact by Trapp, but not enough that it was a clear and obvious error. A good, parentheses, original, close parentheses, no call, in my humble opinion.
I don't even know if there was any contact from Trapp, to be honest. I've looked at it a few times. I don't think he was able to get there because of where the referee was. But no, I do agree. I don't think there was a clear and obvious error made in not calling a foul there. So it shouldn't have gone to that. If they want to be consistent with the way that the language is going to be used, the way video assistant referees are going to be used, you need to either get rid of the clear and obvious language and just say that plays are going to be reviewed, or stick to it. This back and forth and not knowing what's clear and obvious and what is, it's not helping anyone understand the situation.
Then Chris Kilroy said, hey, did anybody ever issue an official explanation of Ted Uncle's controversial decision in the Columbus game? And what is the league's stance on the appropriateness of that use? Clear and obvious? ?
No. The pool reporter asked the question, and all that was responded was that a foul was committed by Trapp. That was it. So you're not going to get any kind of real big official statement on, well, I saw this, and then I saw this on VAR. They're never going to give you that, which I don't think is – I don't know. It's hard. I do want more transparency out of referees, but I don't know if it's good for them to go into crazy in-depth explanations. There's got to be an in-between, though. You need something out of this one because there's so much confusion. There was nothing clear and obvious about it. And if that's the benchmark for going to video assistant referees and getting their involvement and going to look at video, I don't think that was met in this situation.
A couple more, then we're caught up on the hashtag Tuesday Thoughts. A soccer over there note from Nick Alifi. Apparently, there are reports, that's what they are, just reports. Maurizio Sarri likely to be the next manager of Roma, and we'll try to find a resolution to leave Chelsea.
Yeah, we had a whoa, boy. Okay, hold on. That's something, but air horn. Air horn again. Christian Dyer, who writes for a number of outlets, including The Athletic, just tweeted, hearing per source that Alan Koch has been relieved of his duties with FC Cincinnati. Players will be notified this morning.
And good morning. Wow.
That's fast.
Yes.
That's really strange. Now, look, we've talked about it coming into the season that there were real concerns about Koch and tactically, was he going to be up for this? You saw them move out of formations willy-nilly, it felt like, in preseason. Then they hit on something that was a little more defensive, sit back and counter. But it's fallen off, and the lineups have gotten even more confusing. Still, That's really fast, and that means you did not make the right decision coming into the year for him to be your guy, and that's a mistake. To have to make this move now, that's a mistake. Now, this is a club that had John Harkes as their manager in their first year of existence and surprised everybody when they fired him after a good first year and moved on and brought in Koch. Koch did very well in USL. But there's questions about his ability at this level. And it sounds like he's not going to get a chance to answer them any further. What do they do next? I don't feel like there's anybody internally that is ready to step up. I don't know if you make this move as an expansion team if you don't have something lined up, but who? I don't know.
And that's the larger question.
I did not expect to read that.
No, and I am waiting to see if there's going to be anything official coming out of SC Cincinnati. So I have my email up.
Notify the players first. It's not going to happen that fast because, I mean, even from Dyer, players will be notified this morning. They're going to have that meeting. They'll talk to them before anything comes out officially. So keep an eye out of Cincinnati on that rumor. But wow, did not expect to see that.
No, that definitely does deserve a wow. And all right, let's see what else is on the board. Walt Baxley, somewhat guarded still. Our 3 wins are against 2 of the bottom dwellers in a depleted KC. The next few games will show us exactly where we stand.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. You're going to get a better sense of it, but you can only win the games that are in front of you. You can't win a game that against a team that's better than the one you're playing. You just got to win the game that's in front of you. And they've taken care of business. And you have to continue doing that as the competition improves. And this month is going to be a big test of that. Toronto will be more difficult. Orlando won't be easy. And then you have a lot of travel to factor into some tough games. You need to pick up your points right now while you can.
And question on the board from Shiva. Who should take the free kicks and corners now that Barco's gone?
That's got to be Pitti. I think Gressel will factor into it as well. But it's got to be Pitti. His service from corners was much better in this last one. On free kicks that can go to goal, Pitti's a guy you want taking those anyway. But Gressel will be your other option as well.
Sherbs looking back at the Ted Uncle situation, saying definitely contact that caused the fall, not the ref. There was an amazing angle provided on the broadcast for the SKC game during before the match commentary that apparently no one has seen because it is definitive.
I have not seen that. So, okay. I need to look for that one then. Wasn't clear and obvious discussion, though. And that's where where it gets complicated.
And Tafka's wondering if, with Koch gone, if they have somebody in mind, and he mentioned Josh Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf's name comes up consistently. But, man, I mean, I've said this, I think, a couple times when his name's come up with expansion teams. Is that where you want to start with no managerial experience? Is that where you want to go when you're the assistant for the U.S. men's national team right now? Do you want to leave that and go take over an expansion team? I don't think it's a good move for Josh Wolf. I think you need an experienced hand in there if you're Cincinnati now, especially now. Maybe if you would have given Wolf the job last year or 2 years ago and said build it in USL and then go up with it. But to walk into this where you've never been that guy before, I think you're setting Wolf up for failure. It's not easy. It's not easy to just walk into a locker room and know what to do. Yeah, he's been in there as a player, but when everybody's looking at you and saying, save us, I don't think Josh Wolf should leave the national team for that job. I think you need to look to an experienced guy. I mean, let's be real. There's one out there, and he hasn't worked in about a year and a half, but if you bring in Bruce Arena for the rest of the 2019 season with the idea to right the ship and hand it off to whoever he wants to hand it off to and work with him to determine that would make a lot of sense. That would make a whole lot of sense right now. And
DJ Switzer,
a figure who would come in and not have any issues with that locker room, not have any issues with managing big personalities like a Kendall Waston. Kenny Safe, I think, has a big personality as well in the locker room.
Right. Yeah.
Wouldn't have a problem with that. Bruce Arena would right the ship, and if the idea is come in, be the technical director, manage it for the rest of this season, make the staff that you want, and then hand it off and be the technical director going forward, or whatever role you want to call him, because I think you have a technical director in Luke Sassano, figure it out. But Bruce Arena would be the guy who would fix it right now in the short term.
DJ Switzer, the FC Cincinnati beat writer for Pro Soccer USA, is separately confirming Alan Koch is no longer the head coach at FC Cincinnati.
Well, that's 2 for 2. So I don't think Christian Dyer would run with something like that unless he had pretty strong confirmation. So FC Cincinnati, I think you got to go experienced here. I do. If you go with a Josh Wolf or somebody like that who doesn't have experience, I think the year gets worse. And I think you potentially set the club back a couple of years. I think you need to go get somebody to right the ship. And I can't think of anybody else that is unattached that would be that guy right now. I don't think it's a job for Jason Kreis, and he's attached to Inter Miami anyway. And he's attached to the U23 team. I don't think he's walking away from any of that. Bruce is available. He's the guy you turn to, I think.
And
I can't think of anybody else.
Yeah,
that would be that guy.
I know, and I,
unless you have somebody from overseas, and that's always a possibility. Yeah. I mean, Cincinnati with the connections to Germany. I mean, maybe there's a German manager who's interested in coming over and doing it, but that brings a ton of risk. I think you go hand it to Bruce and say, fix this, and then you've got a job for as long as you want it after that. But we want you to fix it, and we want you to set us up for success with the next guy.
And obviously we'll keep an eye on that when it comes to the rest of the day. And then that definitely sends a message going into the action for midweek and beyond. I mean, we saw what FC Cincinnati had done early on in getting points at home, getting points here against Atlanta United, and then they seemed to go away from that philosophy. And
they never had a true philosophy. That's the problem. They were throwing things at the wall, and they would slide down the wall even when they worked a little bit. They just never had a philosophy, and that's the problem. You can't have that. You're never going to find consistent success if you don't have a philosophy and your team doesn't have something that it stands for in the way that it plays. Cincinnati never determined that. Even in the USL days, they never determined that. And you're never going to be successful in the long term if you don't have that.
And I'm trying to find, here we go. Fernando Adi was discussing SC Cincinnati's lack of identity.
Yep. There's a lot of teams in the league that have that, but Cincinnati has been glaring because Alan Koch had an opportunity to build that before, and there hasn't been anything. And when you're constantly no 3 center backs this week, no 4 this week, no 3 central midfielders this week, they're going to sit deep, no 1 and 2 more attack mind. It's just all over the place. Can't play that way. You can't get success out of that. You do see managers, yes, that do change formations and change things over time, but they have a way that they play, and it's about moving chess pieces, not we're going to be defensive this week, we're going to be attacking this week, we're going to dominate possession this week, we're going to give it away this week. You can't do that. You can't do that over a regular basis. There's nothing to fall back on and say, this is Cincinnati. This is how we play. This is who we are. When times get rough, that's what you do. You fall back on who you are. Even New England has that. New England, when they can't generate anything, they go back to, we're going to play direct, we're going to play long, and we're going to use speed. And we're going to press in the other team's half and just be difficult. Got you a point in Kansas City. I mean, it's not the way that I would want to play. It's not the ideal way to play, but at least they have something to fall back on about who they are. Cincinnati doesn't even have that. So that's a failure of the staff, and I'm still a little surprised that it's happening now. I don't think it happens unless you got something lined up.
Yeah.
And for me, Bruce Arena would be the obvious choice. Sam Stejskal is reporting as well that the Sounders are working to sign Ecuadorian center back Xavier Arriaga before the window closes tonight. It's not done yet, but that is the destination that Arriaga is trying to get to, and Seattle's trying to get that done, and that would be a big help to them. Let's take our final break. We'll come back. We've got a couple of news and notes to touch on before we go, and if there's any final questions, we'll grab those as well. We'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Final segment, Soccer Down Here. Thanks to everybody who has chimed in on a Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. It's last call. If you got any final ones, go ahead and throw them at us. And oh yeah, by the way, we have this. Breaking news with John Nelson.
FC Cincinnati have relieved Alan Koch of his duties as the club's head coach, quoting the release, and FC Cincinnati president and GM. Series of recent issues and a team culture that had deteriorated.
Ooh.
We determined that it's time to make a change to return to a club-centered focus to the team. This decision is not driven by recent game results themselves, but rather the underpinnings that have led to those results. We have not come close to maximizing the talent we have in the dressing room this year, nor have we seen a foundation being built that will set us up for success this year and into next year. Our whole locker room is committed to our club goal of earning an MLS postseason bid, and we need to put them in the best position to do so, Birding added into first paragraph. While an international search has begun for the club's next head coach, assistant coach Johan de May will serve in the role of interim head coach. De May, 29, joined FC Cincinnati in March 2017 from the Montreal Impact organization and served as the team's top assistant coach since. Quoting Birding again, I'm confident that Johan will immediately infuse the locker room and soccer staff with a positive energy and team approach. He is respected and trusted and will lead the hard work that gets the best out of our players, end quote. The release continues with Koch statistics. And Birding adding, we appreciate Alan's contributions to FC Cincinnati in the United Soccer League and wish him well, end quote.
Wow. That's not the type of statement I expected. It's transparent. I mean, you got to give Jeff Birding and FC Cincinnati credit for that. They didn't pull any punches. Alan Koch can't be too happy about it. I'll be very curious to see what he has to say. But to put it out there that a series of recent issues, a team culture that had deteriorated, club-centered focus to the team is what you're trying to get to. You haven't maximized your talent. You haven't set a foundation up for success this year and beyond. And saying the last one, the whole locker room is committed to our club goal of earning an MLS postseason bid, and we need to put them in the best position to do so. That's a lot of shade. I did not expect that strong of a statement. We'll see what Alan Koch has to say about it. I would imagine that he will have a statement about what was said about him in this press release, because that's strong from Jeff Berding. Now, it also sets the expectations for the long-term replacement, because you can't just go get somebody willy-nilly. Now you have a manager who has to come in and create a team culture, because you obviously don't really have one. You need to be club-centered, and you need to build a foundation because you don't have one. And what you have in culture and foundation is probably negative at the moment, so you have to fix it and build it. You don't get the opportunity to do it from day one like Tata Martino did in Atlanta, like Adrian Heath did in Minnesota, like Bob Bradley's doing in L.A. You're coming in to fix something that hasn't worked and then build something from scratch. That's tough. That's very difficult. I believe we had one more suggestion on somebody who you could look at potentially in this role.
Yeah, Chris Ashley dropped the idea of Jurgen Klinsmann. He says, there is another former U.S. men's national team manager with nothing to do who could have that German connection for FCC as well. Hashtag Klinsmann to FCC.
It's true. I was not a big fan of what Jurgen Klinsmann brought on the touchline with the U.S. men's national team. What he does bring is a lot of stuff about culture and building a foundation and having a vision. That's where Jurgen Klinsmann shines. And if you create the right situation for him, now I think he's going to have to check his ego a little bit. And if he takes this job with a trainer who can put in the work on the training ground and implement the vision and do the day-to-day, if he can have that, if it can basically be along the lines, and the personalities are different, but along the lines of what Alex Ferguson had with Carlos Queiroz. And Ferguson talked about how valuable that Queiroz was in doing the day-to-day, and how prepared he was, and how vital he was to Manchester United's success, and how Ferguson struggled when he didn't have him. If you can have something like that, where you can be the man and be the focal point and the lightning rod, and you can build culture and build the foundation and make the changes that need to be made to what's already there, and let somebody come in and do the day-to-day of getting the most out of the team on the field, that would be the type of move. That would be a good one. I don't know if Klinsmann is ready to make that kind of move. I think he's the right fit in terms of creating a culture and a foundation, but I don't know if he's the right kind of move for your in-game manager. I don't think he thrives there, and I don't think he's your guy day-to-day on the training ground. I don't think that part works, and I don't know if he recognizes that. We'll have to see. He had a big public failure with the national team. Does he come back with a different idea about how to work? Maybe. And if he does, you do have to consider him. It just depends. That would be a long-term thing. Bruce would be a short-term thing to get to a long-term thing. Jurgen would be a guy who you would be hiring for 5 years. You would be hiring to come in and rebuild what wasn't built the right way the first time. Just different mindsets. I don't know how long you want to roll with Jan Dame at 29 years old as your caretaker. And I don't know if you did this without having an idea of something coming around the corner, unless these recent issues that Jeff Berding mentioned and the team culture deteriorating, if those things had gotten to a point that you had to do it now and just figure it out, If that's the way it has really went down, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, again, it's going to be very interesting to see what Alan Koch has to say in response to this. But
yes,
I think that's where you're at. I think you've got to make a move as quickly as possible. Bruce and Jurgen are two guys who are out of work, who both would have different things they would bring to the table. If you're going for an international search, you got to do it quickly. Maybe Maurizio Sarri to Cincinnati.
And that's another part of the conversation currently on the timeline with the Garlic Bread Warlord and a bunch of other folks discussing what's going on. Possibly, with Sarri.
Give Maurizio Sarri the keys to Cincinnati. Do it. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Fernando Adi and having everything going on up front and making sure that everything.
He is a soccer visionary. Is he the right visionary for Chelsea? Probably not.
No.
Does it mean he's a bad manager? No.
No.
I mean, you can't throw what he did at Serie A completely out. He's not coming. If Roma wants him, Roma's going to get him. But, man, if Cincinnati pulls off that kind of move, okay, everything's worth it.
I'm looking forward to having Kenny Safe being integral in the offense with us here at FC Cincinnati.
Safe. Yes.
But, so the soccer over there is having a separate discussion. The only other part before I recycle here, the Colonel says with Koch out against Darren Neal's raggedy-assed Rangers won't catch on. Sigh.
No.
Hashtag Tuesday Thoughts. Or maybe Darren was prophetic.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that was one of the first things that it's like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? This isn't good. Why are you dropping that bombshell? That's not a good situation. I don't think that had anything to do with this decision, but that was one of those things that's like, wow, all right. Might want to keep that one in check there, Alan. So we will see FC Cincinnati making a gigantic, big, bold move, relieving Alan Koch of his duties and pulling a lot of shade over him on the way out. I'm just waiting to see what Koch has to say. That's the move for me to post the Big E gif of popcorn in the front row. Like, I'm waiting on the response from former FC Cincinnati manager Alan Koch, because I don't think it's going to be a soft one. I don't think it can be after what was said.
No. Open Cup tonight.
Lots of games in the Open Cup, all on ESPN Plus, which is awesome. Richmond Kickers and Virginia United FC, a local qualifier. The Kickers hosting that at City Stadium. Red Bulls U23s, which is the USL League 2 team. They're hosting FC Motown of the NPSL. That's a really good matchup. That could actually be a really good game. Christos is in. FC Baltimore Christos, which is a little bit different variety of Christos. They host Westchester Predators. If they get through, because they are linked to the NPSL now, if they get through, we will catch up with our friends in Christos and the different varieties of Christos flavors that are out there now, because it's a little complicated. Lakeland Tropics and the Villages in a USL League 2 battle. Two really good USL League 2 teams. That could be a fun one.
I think Poppy Miller is on the call on that one.
Oh, there you go. Auburndale, Florida is the site for that one. Lakeland Tropics are your hosts. Tormenta FC2, the USL League 2 variety of South Georgia Tormenta. They are hosting the League 1 Chattanooga Red Wolves in Statesboro. So it's not the pro Tormenta. It's the League 2 team, the amateur side. They started training at the end of last week. That's the difficulties here for the League 2 teams. And they're playing against a Red Wolves team that's had a preseason and is in their season. So big challenge for Tormenta 2. We'll see how they handle the Red Wolves. Milwaukee Bavarian SC, a local qualifier that has been in this tournament since the early days. One of the longest-running clubs in American soccer, and they've won this thing before back in the amateur days. They are hosting Forward Madison FC, which should be a great Wisconsin derby. Milwaukee Bavarian, Forward Madison FC tonight from Milwaukee. I will be checking on that one for sure.
Please wear the audio scratch pink kits tonight if you're Forward Madison.
Yeah, sure. You can do that. But I will be looking to see what Bavarian brings to the table. Laredo Heat, another long-running club in American soccer in the NPSL now. They're hosting Brazos Valley Cavalry FC out in Laredo, Texas tonight. Academica SC, local qualifier, hosting El Farolito from the NPSL. That's in Turlock, California. And Cal FC, local qualifier, hosting FC Mulhouse Portland from the NPSL. That's in Calabasas, California. And the final game of the night tonight, Orange County FC of the NPSL hosting FC Golden State Force of USL League 2, a very strong youth club, FC Golden State. This is their USL League 2 team, their amateur team. So there'll be some young guys in there. There'll be some graduates of the club who are off in college who've rejoined. That's another one that could be a really good one to check out. Everything on ESPN Plus tonight, all across the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
News and notes.
Yeah, there's a few things that we haven't touched on. On the youth side, FC Cincinnati did announce that they're launching their academy for the fall. They're going to have 2 teams to start it. They had not started an academy yet, which is a little surprising. U15 and then a U16/U17 team. That's your 2 teams that will launch this fall in the academy. Birmingham Legion, we talked about it on the show last night. They're doing a citywide league pre-academy, like 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, with a number of local Birmingham clubs. Really cool partnership to eventually work towards creating their own academy in conjunction with the existing clubs in the area. And there's some strong ones, too. U17s, if you haven't been keeping up with the CONCACAF U17 Championship, they are into the round of 16. They have to win 2 knockout matches to get to the U17 World Cup. It starts on Thursday. Guadalupe is the first opponent. You win that, you have to beat either Panama or Guatemala on Sunday to lock down your spot at the U17 World Cup. They've looked pretty good. Shaky opening the match against Canada in Game 1, but you came back and won that 3-2. They've looked pretty dominant ever since. They should get through with no problems. It's up to Rafael Vicky, the new manager, to get the job done in 2 more matches to get to the tournament. Then it's about winning the CONCACAF U17, and we'll see if they can pull that off. Talked about Montreal. They're going to be missing Piatti and Bakary Sagna for Wednesday's match at Red Bull Arena. That's tough for the Impact to deal with. Bakary Sagna is more recent absence, and Nacho Piatti's been out for a little while. New Mexico United drew 15,023 for their match on Sunday at Isotopes Park. One of the best stories in American soccer in 2019 so far. It's a fun team to watch, and it's a fun environment in Albuquerque, and they're really knocking everything out of the park at the moment, and hopefully they can keep it up and continue to grow. And remember this guy, Giovanni Dos Santos? He might end up at Cruz Azul, according to reports in Mexico.
All I have to say is when it comes to life at the lab, Santi Moar and Darth Frater.
No, Darth Frater. May the 4th is past us by a few days. No Darth Frater. No. Not supporting that at all. Update on the latest out of Cincinnati from DJ Switzer, Wrong Side of the Pond, and Pro Soccer USA. Koch's FC Cincinnati tenure being cut short was far from a surprise. Poor results didn't help things, but this decision has been in the works for some time. Second paragraph. And I've heard some really, emphasis on really, in all caps, big names being linked as his replacement. Are they the right answers, though? I don't know. Then he goes on to say, that's not to say that the big names I've heard linked, 2 of which have Premier League managerial experience, will happen. But I've heard there was genuine interest from both sides. Whether it can work financially or whether it's the right fit remains to be seen. I think they have more talent than their results have shown. I've been pretty consistent in saying that from day one. I expected more out of them than I think some did, and it sounds like the club expected more as well, and they've made this move. So Cincinnati is going to be a fun place to keep an eye on over the next few hours and days as they replace Alan Koch. Anything else on the Twitter timeline before we go?
No, still the discussion with the garlic bread warlord and Maurizio Sarri. So it's a soccer over there discussion that's going on right now. And thanks for everybody for interacting and taking the conversation the directions that it is.
Maurizio Sarri has Premier League experience.
So does Sam Allardyce.
John, Why do you have to bring everybody down? Why do you have to do that? Nobody mentioned Sam Allardyce. Nobody wants to mention Sam Allardyce. Nobody wants to see Sam Allardyce in Major League Soccer. Why did you have to do that?
Because Sam Allardyce is always looking for work. He's always willing to throw his name into the discussion.
Go work somewhere else. Like, nobody wants to see that. So don't even speak that into existence.
The Indian national team. That would be awesome.
Sorry, in MLS. I'm cool. I want to see it. Why did you have to go and end the show like that? Why?
I'd like to have the opportunity to coach FC Cincinnati and be there with Fernando Adi and Kenny Safe and bring in players that would be very, very good for FC Cincinnati.
You have tainted the rest of the afternoon with the Sam Allardyce comment. Now I'm afraid that Sam Allardyce is going to come into Cincinnati and you're going to see...
He'll throw his name into the ring, guarantee it.
Probably, but you're going to see an identity in Cincinnati if Sam Allardyce is there, an identity that nobody wants to watch on a regular basis.
Correct.
It's awful soccer, and nobody wants to see that. So now I'm sad. Thanks, John. I appreciate that.
Tormented 2 has added another couple of players eligible for the squad to face Red Wolves tonight. Adrian Billhart, a midfielder, defender Maxwell Edwards, midfielder Mateus Pereira, and goalkeeper Tor Saunders are now pending league and federation approval. Could be available tonight for the match against Red Wolves.
That one tonight from Statesboro. Lots of U.S. Open Cup tonight. We'll talk about what happens in the Open Cup tonight. We'll get you set for another busy schedule of Open Cup tomorrow. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Toronto FC comes to town to play in the Benz tomorrow night. Busy day today. We'll keep up with Cincinnati. We'll keep you posted from what we hear and see on the Twitters at Soccer Down Here. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, for the latest edition of Soccer Down Here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for all the comments and questions and stuff on Twitter. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. Mucho platiyo.
Mucho platiyo.